Hey, good evening, everybody. Cindy Baker, ADHD productivity coach here, and I love sharing these tips with you every week. Um, I'm actually recording this. This is not live tonight. I'm normally live, but I had a meeting that conflicted, and so this is recorded. Just want to be transparent with you, but we're going to talk about decluttering because it is January and a lot of people start the new year trying to get organized, right? Um, and so I'm going to just share some ADD friendly tips. These are actually tips from a webinar, or some of them are mine, but a webinar from Linda Rogley, I think is how you say her name. So I want to give her credit. But if your closet or your desk or your pantry is just overflowing with unnecessary, unhelpful stuff, then you know that having clutter, it takes up mental space. It creates overwhelm, stress, guilt, embarrassment, shame. Uh, there are mental health issues related to clutter. So learning how to learning how to declutter, excuse me, and stay organized um, is really important. And you need some tips and solutions that are ADD friendly, right? Um, so, um, understanding the burden of ADHD clutter is, I guess, the first place to start. More than half of adults with ADHD say disorganization is a serious problem, and 40% of women over the age of 40 say disorganization is their most urgent ADHD issue, which is one of the reasons that I'm speaking to you on this topic tonight. Our ADHD brains are prone to clutter for many reasons. We've got poor working memory. We have weak impulse control. We have difficulty making decisions. Um, we impulse buy, we've got Amazon right there, speed dial or whatever. Um, and just the sheer physical and emotional space consumed by clutter becomes unmanageable, and it can get in the way of you living the kind of life that you want to live, get in the way of your relationships, your work, your mental health. So Linda Rogley shares 7 decluttering strategies and solution recommendations, and I really like these, so I'm sharing them with you because these are some things that I've used as well. These are things that work for the ADHD brain. So, first thing is stop buying so much stuff. Stop buying so much stuff, because shopping is like it's a way to self-medicate. And you know retail therapy or impulse buying, it doesn't last. It gives you a quick little dopamine hit and then a crash. But impulse or big purchases, you know think about it before you click buy. Be honest about your finances and ask yourself some questions before you do it. Just kind of a little check in your spirit. Is this purchase realistic for my budget? Do I have space for this thing? Um, or are you saying to yourself, oh, it'll be all right just this once, pretending that it's going to be all right? um, my suggestion, if you're shopping online, leave the item in your shopping cart for several days. Give yourself time to think about it, and then reassess whether the desire to purchase it remains as high as it was at the beginning. Ask yourself, do you over shop? Even sales. Now, this thrift shops, garage sales, things like that. A lot of my ADHD clients say those are tough for them because they'll say, well, it's 40% off, and so I got to get it. And so ask yourself, if you're over shopping, and what are the real reasons that you overshop? Is it because you're impulsive? Do you have some sort of hole in your life and you need something to feel alive? Could you better organize your stuff to find things that you already own? Because if you feel like, well, I deserve these things and I need to fill that void, then that might be an issue for therapy, because that is not going to go away on its own. So just don't bring in stuff. And then, think about what they call the 80-20 rule, or they call it the Pareto principle, Pareto. I don't know how you say his name, but that says 80% of the time that we use 20% of what we have stored in our files, our closets, our drawers. So the more stuff that we keep in storage, the less we're going to use it. And it's not even seen. So when you're going through all these items that never get used, try not to spend too much time. Actually, I suggest not even spending much time holding the objects physically in your hand, because we own things by touching them. So the longer you spend in physical contact with an otherwise forgotten item, the more likely you are to keep it. So ask yourself, what stops me from getting rid of stuff? Our ADHD brains are famous for repeating all these unhelpful stories like, well, I'll give this to my children, or I might need this someday. So what works of fiction are you repeating? I had a roommate once when I was single, and we lived in an area where they had what they called Big Trash Day. And that was the day that you could leave big trash on the curb, like stuff that couldn't fit in your garbage can. And she would drive around on those days and just get all this random stuff. I mean, she would come home with a baby carriage. I'm like, what in the heck? We were both single with no kids. And so what do you need a baby carriage for? Well, I don't, but if I find somebody who needs it, then I'll have it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, and the funny thing is, she ended up marrying a guy who ran like a thrift business or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he does, but it was pretty funny. So ask yourself, what unhelpful story am I telling myself? What's one thing I can do to clear out the stuff I don't need, or the stuff that I don't really want or use? Can you take one step forward? Where or to whom will you donate, sell, or give away or recycle stuff that's still usable, but it's not really part of your future? The older I get, the more I'm able to let go of stuff that I thought I would use when I got older, because I am older now. Ask yourself, how will I better organize the things that I'm keeping? And so you want to invest in the right kind of storage. And this tonight is not when I'll go through all that, because we don't have enough time. But my husband always says, be careful, because space savers take up a lot of space. So you don't want to buy something that's going to take up more space, but actually keep you organized. And that might be things like a laundry hamper, paper dividers, rolling drawers. Anyway, there's a lot we could say about that, but we'll stick to just general decluttering tips. Another tip that Linda gives is to think once. Think once and then let go. Ask yourself these quick questions. This is all about making a quick decision, because the longer you overthink it, the more difficult it is. Ask yourself these quick questions to avoid getting stuck trying to create yet another organizing system. Ask yourself, how often will I use this? Where will I use it? What will I use it for? And if you're in my coaching program, you can get help from me, or you could possibly get a friend who's very organized to help you. But you want to ask yourself, what is one particularly complicated or tangled knot that needs a think once solution? So think once and then let go. Ask yourself, what problem is that going to solve? Solving which problem would most reduce your stress, your tension, your frustration? How can you accept help without surrendering your own position? So another tip is to compartmentalize. Don't purchase any new containers until you have first decluttered and removed unneeded items from your life. Don't do it. And then, consider using creative compartments rather than buying new solutions. So office storage bins, those can double as holders for personal items like glasses. Empty makeup compartment can hold medication, things like that. Use the storage for other purposes. So, ask yourself, what stuff is running loose that needs to be compartmentalized? And what containers do I have or need to corral those things? And how can I make the system mess proof? Those are some questions that you might want to ask. And when you think about getting organizing products, think about things that are going to work best for your ADHD brain. Plastic storage bins hold items that you decide to keep, and those can be stacked easily. Get the clear ones so you can see what's in there. They don't take up floor space. Things like flat sorting carts. Those are great for organizing paper materials. They got wheels on them a lot of times. Freedom Filer is a great filing system where you can actually see what's in all the different files. I like Post-it notes, and you can kind of mark things that way. And, desk drawer organizers, you can use those for things it doesn't have to just be pens and pencils. You can use those for all kinds of things. We have one with batteries, a tape measure, keys, glasses, things like that. And even your ladies, your purse, get one with different pockets and compartments so you're not just throwing everything in there and never been able to find stuff. So when you're thinking about your kitchen, you want to get rid of all of the gadgets that are out on the counter that you're not using, and maybe even get rid of some of them. Are you really using all those things that you got for Christmas years ago? Some people with ADHD love those transparent, like Snapware or Tupperware, so they can stack things and they take up less space in the pantry. So drawer organizers, things like that. There's, again, a lot more I could say about it, but you want to label everything. I have a label maker, which is awesome. I don't always use it. Sometimes I just use a permanent marker. But a label is helpful to any ADHD household. Put labels on pantries and drawers, outside of drawers, boxes. Ask yourself, what do I consistently lose or have to spend time figuring out over and over again which, like which charger goes with which device, right? Set a date to buy a labeler, find the one that you already bought, or else use another way to label. But you want to label things. Your whatever your organizing system is, it needs to work around your ADHD. Think functional, not fancy, not something you see in a magazine. Convenience is key. Files are piles turned sideways, right? So write it down before you forget it. Automate as much as you can. And ask yourself, which ADHD ideas that already work for me can I use to help me get organized? What can I automate to make life easier? Maybe appointments, medicine refills, recurring purchases, birthdays. Automate as much as you can. And then everything in your house needs a home, and everything should be returned to its home after you use it. It takes more time to find stuff than it does to put it away. So don't have just a dumping ground of your flat surfaces as you come in the door and everybody puts something on the counter. People with ADHD, I read somewhere that they spend roughly 23 weeks of their lives trying to find stuff, find items. So adults with ADHD spend 2 times that amount. The people without is 23 weeks, and the people with is 2 times that amount. So ask yourself, what stops me from putting away the things that I use or that I pull out? What's destroying your good intentions? Are you busy? Are you bored? You don't remember where to put it? Think about using a beginner's mindset. Getting organized, it takes time when it's done right, and it's going to be slow, and you're going to, take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. A lot of times you're going to have some falls, but working with your ADHD brain also means cutting yourself some slack when you get emotional or when you get frustrated. So think about 1 or 2 things that you could do in the month of January to clear the mental clutter by clearing your physical clutter. If you want to put a before and after picture in the Facebook group, that would be awesome. I would love that. And again, I just kind of brushed the surface. There's so much more we could say about clutter. In my coaching group, I have a 4-part series on clutter, how to get started, how to get over the overwhelm, what to do first, step by step, going through every room of your house. But just for tonight, I just wanted to kind of give you an overview and hopefully just a little inspiration to get started. So let's just kind of have a little challenge. In fact, I might even give a prize out to somebody who posts a before and after picture in the month of January of something that you've cleaned out, decluttered. How about that? That'd be kind of cool. So look forward to hearing from you. If you did watch this at the time slot that it was supposed to be live, then let me know in the chat. And if you're watching this after Monday night and watching the replay, then just say #replay. I will go back and respond to comments. So please let me know what your thoughts are. If you have other tips that work for you, please share them with the group. And I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next time. Bye.